at the time I was living in Mexico City. Banks in Mexico City, when the financial crisis hit, they pretty much stopped lending money, right? Until further notice, basically. But that took a few months. And so we quickly went broke. From having significant revenues and it's becoming profitable very quickly, we basically our business vanished. It evaporated. I personally have become a stalker on LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn more than anything else.
We all are. We all are.
I have all the
Everyone who is doing business is a stalker on LinkedIn. If you are in a toxic work environment, compensation does not matter. And if you're not learning, if you're not growing your skills like that, so compensation is a secondary thing in that case. Hello everyone, my name is Ali. I'm the CEO of Al-Burraq Technologies. Today we have another tech star with us who has done great in sales, marketing, and have done multiple ventures. He's an ex-Google and Facebook employee, and we are going to talk to him and get insights from him. How are you, Aviel?
I'm good. Great to talk to you, Ali. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm doing great. And it would be great if you can give us your introduction so that our audience can connect with you and they can know best.
Sure. Hi, everybody. So my name is Aviel Eidels. I am CEO and co-founder of Stoic Media. I am originally from Mexico City, lived many years in the US. And, with the pandemic, I've been kind of back and forth between Mexico and the US. And I'm just very excited to have this conversation today.
Thank you so much. You started your career as a sales manager, and very soon you started your own company. Tell us about that. What was the motivation behind that? How did you decide it? Because it was a big decision. So how did you decide that you need to come up with your own company?
Yes. So when I graduated from college, I started working for. It's actually a global company called ST DuPont. ST DuPont, they're a luxury goods company. They basically sell a bunch of luxury accessories for men. And I worked for them as a sales manager for about a year and a half. They taught me a lot about facing clients, trying to negotiate pricing, traveling to different places to make sure that displays for all these items were properly set up. And as I was working there, I had a friend from back in high school, and he was into real estate. And his family owns a pretty large real estate company. And he basically reached out to me and said, look, clearly you're on sales. I think you're doing great. How about we partner up? And we launch a mortgage brokerage company. That way, we can start making money by charging banks or other financial institutions for us processing the mortgages that we can then sell into the real estate inventory that, again, his business already had, which I thought it was a great idea. And so that's what we did. We kind of ventured into finance without him or me knowing much about it. So we had to take a bunch of courses, and then we learned about incorporating, again, a company from the ground up, setting ourselves up, again, all things related to compliance, certifications, taxes, regulation, and so on. And so we were able to actually strike brokerage deals with some of the largest banks out there, with HSBC, Santander, BBVA, Citi, just to name a few. And at the time, this was 2007. The world was about to head into a very large roadblock the following year. So our business actually took off fairly rapidly. It grew really quickly. We went from just being us two partners. We scaled up into maybe having like 15 employees within less than a year. All these employees were, again, mortgage brokers selling into all this inventory that was available. And we were charging the banks commissions for, again, placing these mortgages across different types of homes and apartments. But 2008 got to us, and of course, the financial crisis hit. And I'm sure everybody listening to this podcast knows that the sector that got most affected and was
the
highly
banking sector.
the financial crisis was mortgages, right? So
Yeah.
we went from selling, I want to say, over 100 mortgages per to zero from one month to the other. All the banks, at the time I was living in Mexico City, banks in Mexico City, when the financial crisis hit, they pretty much stopped lending money, right? Until further notice, basically. But that took a few months. And so we quickly went broke. From being having significant revenues and becoming profitable very quickly, we basically our business vanished. It evaporated. So it was really hard for us. We had to let go pretty much everybody in the company, and things got really difficult at the time. But life it works in mysterious ways. And at the time, I had another friend of mine who was employee number 3 at Google Mexico. When Google opened their office in Mexico City, this was back in 2007, I want to say, or 2008. Uh, it was just a very small office, and one of those early stage employees was a close friend of mine, and he said, "Look, I'm not sure how you guys are doing. I know you guys are into mortgages. I don't think this is the best time to be within working in the mortgage business. And we know you're good at sales. So why don't you, why don't I put your recommendation in, and let's see if this works out for you." And he did me a favor, and he pretty much again recommended my profile with Google's HR. At the time, they were looking to hire a solid, pretty large sales team to sell into Latin America for basically Google Search, Google Display, and later on YouTube. This was all again 2008. As you can imagine, this is early stage within the online advertising, environment industry. So, long story short, I got hired by Google as a account strategist. Obviously, I had known nothing about AdWords, ad placements, CPMs, and all things related to online advertising. And so I had to take online courses and quickly ramp up on what that business is all about, and learn as quickly as I could about the Google platform and metrics, and again learning also how to sell into large customers, uh, like again big financial institutions, automotive, CPG, retail, travel, you name it. So yeah, that was kind of my journey from being a salesperson, employee of a company, to a first-time entrepreneur, launching my own company, quickly becoming very successful, and then very quickly going broke, and then going back
Right.
or into corporate life.
Right.
So
Right.
at the time, looking back, and this is a long time ago now. Um, it was kind of scary. It was scary for me to think, because when I started working at this startup that we had launched for again mortgage credits, uh, I thought, why don't people just you know spend their time launching their businesses? This is easy, this is quick, and there's a lot more money to be made. Little did I know what was about to come, and it was a very important lesson in my life. Um, uh, the world spins, and some things happen for reasons that you don't even know of, and they highly could impact you, even though you feel safe, and even though you have a clear idea on what you're supposed to be doing. And so things affect you even though you have no control on them, right? So that was my learning at the time. So yeah, I joined Google, and it was a lot of fun. It was high growth. I think at the time, I got hired as employee number 15 ish in the Google Mexico office. Again, we're a small team, and and I worked in Mexico for Google for about 3 years and a half. Again, always doing ad sales, learning on how to engage with clients, large clients, small clients, launching new platforms, working on new ad products. It was a lot of fun. And then I had the opportunity to get transferred to Google US in New York City. There was a position as an account manager for, at the time, it was called Google Affiliate Network. Basically, at the time, Google had purchased a company um, that had a platform dedicated to affiliate marketing, and then they migrated that into what they called GAN, Google Affiliate Network. It no longer exists. But at the time, it was my first time moving to the U.S. and working with U.S. clients and in a full American team. I was the only person that was a non-U.S. citizen in my team, and it was a huge experience, a huge learning experience for me as well. I had been used to working in Latin America with Latin American clients, and it's very different than working in the US with large clients in the US. So I worked for a Google affiliate network for about a year, and then Google, the Google is Google, and they sometimes buy companies, they sell companies, they launch products, they sunset them. And in this case, without anybody knowing internally, at least not in my team, Google decided to sunset that product called Google Affiliate Network. So, and at the time, the team was around 100 people. So we all got kind of shuffled, and we were offered other positions within the company. So I moved internally to a different position, also within the ad sales organization, but mainly selling Google Search, Google Display, some programmatic, and video for YouTube. So I also worked there, but then I became what they still call this position analytical lead, and it was also a big learning curve, learning on how to query using SQL and other internal languages similar to SQL, accessing databases, and then again doing large data analysis with some of the engineering group and sales teams to be able to forecast new trends, new search trends. For again sales teams to be able to package the opportunity to sell and increase sales. Right. Sorry, I'm just going to turn this off. So anyway, I worked there for another couple years as a principal analytical lead, and it was a lot of fun. Very cool team. And for my former colleagues in Mexico, one of them jumped ship and to work as the director at Facebook at the time for Latin America for a position in sales. And she reached out and said, "Hey, we need people in Facebook in New York. I think you'd be a great fit." And so I'm not going to go through the details, but basically I decided to leave Google after 6.5 years to join Facebook. And so also very close by, offices in Manhattan, by. It was also a great experience, very different from working at Google. It was a smaller team. This is 2015, right? 2015
Right.
is when Facebook was exploding in terms of size. And they had just acquired Instagram at the time. And when I joined was that moment when Google started monetizing Instagram with Instagram ads. And it was a fast-paced environment. Things were moving really quickly, and teams were also being shuffled very quickly, and it was a lot of chaos. But again, all good, and it was growing. The company was growing, our team was growing, and then some internal things happened within Facebook, and I was actually let go of Facebook. It was a very unexpected decision that the company made, at least for me. I was not expecting. I only stayed there for about a year, and yes, and at the time, I thought to myself, well, these things happen, but I had been for 6 years working at Google. I had been promoted a few times, and I was on track to being what would then I would consider myself as successful within Google. And then I decided to again join Facebook because I thought I was going to grow even faster, and then I was let go. It was a bit of shame. I was a bit ashamed of myself, and I went through a period of some grief and some a lot of thoughts in my head on how to best go about that. But again, as I said, life acts in very interesting ways, and just that very week, how these things happen. That week that I was let go, I want to say 3 days after that date, one of my former colleagues from Google, he had been hired as an EVP at Univision. Univision is the largest at the time was the largest. I think it still is the largest Hispanic TV network in the U.S. And this is 20 early 2016. Yeah, so he reached out and said, "Hey, I know you're at Facebook." He actually didn't know I had just been laid off days ago. And he's like, "Well, we're looking for somebody that can lead the team for ad sales. We're a TV network and we're really good in, selling TV and producing TV. But we've just launched and acquire all these digital platforms and we need help monetizing them. We need to sell into these. We need to create new products and so on and so forth. So please join us." And so on. I was like, actually, this is great timing. um, so so told him at the time, I was like, yeah, I'll consider it. But inside I was like, oh, thank you, God. Thank you for this opportunity. Uh, but yeah, so we negotiated the terms and I joined just after a few weeks. I joined Univision as a director of digital media. And it was a lot of fun. Univision is a terrific company. Staff is the best. It's a great environment. People really help each other. It's looking back, it's one of those times in my life when I'm really grateful that I joined that company because coming from Facebook and Google, you could say, oh well, this is definitely a downgrade. Obviously you're not in a high growth company, very sophisticated. You're not into tech. This is an old school TV network that you're joining. So initially, I came in with this aura of, thinking that I knew better than most of the people in there because, of course, I've been selling digital sales and they're all into TV and, TV is declining and, digital is growing. And, but again, it was a very cool learning experience for me. I had the opportunity to work with product, work with the actual people calling the shots on how to structure sales, digital sales teams, how to set up quotas for those sales. And I also learned about TV, which at the time I didn't know much about. Nowadays, it's all kind of connected, right? Because it's called you got CTV, right? Connected TV, OTT, over the top, and then you got all these streaming platforms and devices, and now everything's kind of blurry. But again, this is almost 10 years ago. Things weren't like that. It was just you got TV and TV metrics and TV tech, and then you have all the digital, search, Google search, and all the display network and YouTube. And then you had social media, right? And at the time it was Twitter and it was Facebook, right? So now it all blurred. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. I got to meet very interesting people from all sorts of backgrounds. I would say that my strongest network nowadays, I found either in Google or Univision, and life goes on, and a lot of these folks have gone and taken their own paths and joined other firms, but we all still we're all still connected, and many of them right now are actually my clients. So looking back, a big learning experience is you got to keep being humble, no matter where what kind of job you're taking on or what company you work for. There's always a learning experience. There's always something new to learn, and you have to take it in. You have to take it in and never think that you know better than the folks around you, because most likely you don't. So that's one thing, and I would say the second uh, learning that I got from that is you always need to keep in touch with folks in your network, right? Even if you leave a company, work for another one, and maybe you didn't quite meet a person in that office, and then you moved on. Make sure you reach out to everybody on an ongoing basis throughout time. Once every other month, maybe once a year. Hey, how are you doing? I noticed that you joined this firm. I'm very glad for you. I'm happy for you. Send me a note. I'm hoping you're okay. That really goes a long way, because you really never know how life is going to turn out. And some of those folks that you thought, you'd never talk to again in your lifetime could be the ones that are going to be your biggest clients later on in life. You have to stay in touch, right? You can do that on social media, email, text them, whatever, but it's very important for everybody to stay in touch. So, yeah, so that was Univision. I'm going to stop right there. I don't know if you have any particular questions for me, or should I just go on?
I was going to ask you about Google and Facebook, but you have explained a lot. So I'm not going to ask you that, but I'm going to ask you another question related to that. If you have to compare Facebook and Google as a company with the perspective of an employee, where do you rate these companies and who do you think is going to win with the employee's perspective?
That's a great question. I think they're both terrific companies. I don't think
Yeah,
one of them is better than the other one. From a benefits perspective, both are great. They have top notch benefits for their
yeah,
employees. From a compensation perspective, they're both pretty competitive. Almost, I would say the same. You have to keep in mind that Google is older, is an older company than Meta now. Even though again, when I joined Facebook, Facebook was much smaller, and it was a new kid on the block. You know, kind of like the right now. You got OpenAI. OpenAI is new. Everybody, it's a big buzzy company. Everybody wants to work for OpenAI. But at the time, it was Facebook. And so at the time, clearly, Google had been around for many more years, and they had consolidated their human resources and all the internal systems and benefits, and they had all these things. When I joined Facebook, it was still in kind of growth mode. I think at the time we were 3,500 employees at Facebook. Google was already like more than 50,000 or 70,000. You know, so again, Facebook was trying to catch up with what Google was doing, and so offering the same benefits, offering similar compensation. So I wouldn't say that one is better than the other. I don't think one of them is going to win from an employee perspective against the other. What I will say is that whenever you join a company, the most important thing, again, looking back, is not the company; it's the team you join within that company. That's the most important thing, at least for me. And what do I mean by that? The connection you can make with a team around you, the support you can get from again your peers or your managers. That is the most important thing because that's your full experience. I mean, you're spending 8+ hours a day. Okay, yes, in a building or an office or a place with again all these benefits and bells and whistles. But at the same time, you're spending most of that time interacting with people. That team or those people are folks who work with you. So I don't think one company is better than the other. It really depends on what team you're joining. If that team is cohesive and they help each other and they got each other's backs, that's one thing. But if you join a team where no matter how many benefits or how well you're paid, people are backstabbing you and you feel alone and you feel like you're going to get screwed and then the company benefits and your compensation really doesn't matter because you're not at your best place in that specific point in time. Does that make sense?
yeah, that absolutely makes sense because if you are in a toxic work environment, compensation does not matter. And if you're not learning, if you're not growing uh, your skills uh, like that, so compensation is a secondary thing in that case.
Yes.
So my next question is related to what you said in your background that you learned it how to get big customers. So tell us that how if I ask you how to get big clients, how would you answer that? Tell us that way.
When I worked at Google, at Facebook, and at Univision, when I joined those three firms, a book of business was assigned to me. I already had active clients, big clients that I needed to upsell on, right? So my job at the time wasn't to win new accounts. It was working the existing accounts and helping the company grow revenues from those specific accounts. For example, in my last position at Google, I was under the vertical of beauty and wellness. So my clients were L'Oreal, Johnson and Johnson, SC Johnson, Coty, Reckitt Benckiser. And so obviously that's a vertical that has a unique way to work with clients because the products are sold in a certain way. You're not. It's very different from selling it to travel clients like airlines or OTAs. So when I joined Facebook, for example, I joined the luxury automotive vertical, right, which I had no experience selling into. My clients were Mercedes Benz, BMW, Jaguar, Porsche, Land Rover. And, it's very different to sell ads into automotive companies versus beauty brands, right? But to answer your question, at the time, my job was not to get new accounts. It was just to learning how to navigate internally within those agencies, ad agencies, or the actual client, and learning who's responsible for what, a lot of coordination, a lot of forecasting, deep dive analyses on data based on the systems that we were working with. And so, yes, that is very different from where I stand right now, which again, I have my own company and and we also sell into large clients, but the approach is really different, right? Because these are all new clients to me, meaning this is not existing business that I inherited from a different person at the organization. So I guess there's no clear cut way to, how do you get new large customers? Um, Depending on what you do, right? What is your business about? There's always business development people within any organization. I think the starting point is who takes care of biz dev. And then I personally have become a stalker on LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn more than anything else.
We all are. We all are.
I have all the
Everyone who is doing business is a stalker on LinkedIn.
I just have all the add-ons you could purchase for LinkedIn. I'm all for them. But
Yeah.
again, this is very different, right? Our company is small now. It's not Google, right? It's not Facebook. So tapping into those people is different, and the products that we're selling or the services that we're selling are different than selling, Google ads or Facebook ads. We're not selling that. So anyway, yeah, it's a difficult question that you asked.
Okay. Okay. I get that. Because we both are from the business side, so I can understand that it's a tough thing because every type of customer is parting at a different place. So basically, you have to find out that first, where are they, right,
Mhm.
and then pitch them. But one thing, one very interesting thing in your career was the role of PR you had and the importance because you got your jobs through that. You started your companies through PR, and I can see the emphasis you put on PR,
What do you mean?
personal relations.
Yeah. Yes. So I would say personal relations are definitely what helped me get my business up and running. Uh, when I was at Univision, at the time I was kind of paranoid because I had read a book called The Creature of Jekyll Island, and this book is basically a very interesting story, or it's a history of how the Federal Reserve of the U.S., the U.S. Central Bank, how it came to be, right? And then I read this book, and it basically outlines all the flaws in the system and whatnot, but it also outlines the fact that money, what we consider money today, it was not like that in the past, right? Because at the time, again, when the Fed was born, it was backed by gold, the gold standard. And I'm not going to get into the details of that, but basically, I got paranoid after I read that book because this was 2016, and Trump was in office in the U.S., and there was a lot of quantitative easing happening, monetary expansion in the U.S. So I got really paranoid, and I thought to myself, wow, they're printing all this money, and people's purchasing power is going to dilute, and it's going to be a catastrophe, and saving dollars or whatever currency you're saving won't matter because it'll there's going to be a inflation and all these things that I thought at the time. So while I was working at Univision, I started up my side business selling gold and silver bullion online. So I founded a company called Stoic Me LLC, and it was basically based on the Stoicism principles, right? So basically, worry about those things you can control, but don't worry about the things you cannot control because they're going to happen anyway, and there's nothing you can do about them. So at the time, after reading this book, I thought, that the way for me to control this situation with what's happening in the larger economy is to be able to purchase gold to hedge myself against inflation and hedge myself against, my purchasing power being diluted. And why not help other people do the same? So that's why I started off this retail online business selling gold and silver. I'm not going to go too much into that, but I started off that, and it started working, and we started selling. But it required that I invest a significant amount of money in inventory, right? Gold and silver inventory for me to again sell this commodity online, and I did not have the money. I just didn't have, not even close to what was required to do in order to get this business up and running. So I had to, again, I crashed. That was the second time I crashed my startup. But I kept the legal structure of the company alive, and I filed all the taxes, and I kept all the certificates alive, so that just in case I'd ever need a legal structure for me to operate a business, I can have it at hand. And so what I did is, when I left Univision, I used that legal structure called Stoic Me, and that's when I pivoted to become Stoic Media, right? So that's how Stoic Media was born. It wasn't born because I thought, oh, let's build a media company. It actually was born from an online gold and silver bullion e-commerce platform that I had launched and that failed. But at the same token, the philosophy behind Stoic Media is kind of the same as that of Stoic Me, right? The goal of the business. And so right now, the philosophy, there's Stoicism is embedded in everything we do here. And why? How would you embed Stoicism into media production or media monetization? It's just the way we go about managing human resources in our clients, right? So Stoicism, again, just for folks out there that don't necessarily know much about it, in a nutshell, is again focus on those things you can control, and find happiness and achieve again internal bliss by doing the things you like to do, right? Because that's something you can control. And all the other things that you cannot control, those things should not be impacting you, because again, there's nothing you can do about them. So it doesn't make any sense for anybody to grieve or feel bad or again be worried about things that you cannot control, right? That's kind of the philosophy behind it. So apply that into a work environment. Whenever we hire, journalists, video animators, video editors, producers, again, staff that works with us, within the interviewing process, we ask them, what is it that you love to do? What do you like to do in life? Okay, some people say, I'm a journalist. I love, being a journalist. I love writing. I love telling other people what's, the news of the day. And so we tell them, look, if you're going to be joining us, you need to focus on that thing that you're really good at that makes you happy. And let us, the company, take care of those things that you're not necessarily going to be controlling, so that you can dedicate your time to being happy, right? So the commitment in our company is to look for those projects that we can bring in. So again, to your question around PR, yes, personal relationships are important, because when I launched Stoic Media, when I pivoted into Stoic Media, one of my former colleagues within Univision, I knew they were looking for media production. They needed video to be produced at scale. They needed a lot of editing and animation and voiceovers and all these things that, from a production standpoint, media production standpoint, are important. And I partnered with my sister, so she became my business partner, and we would build a team dedicated to, again, at the time was Univision, and we started producing content for Univision, which again I had worked for 3 years prior to that, and that's how we pivoted and how we started Stoic Media. We start producing custom content, premium content for them, transferring the rights of that content to the client, and then we start closing on new accounts, small ones, larger ones, and so that's how we became a media production company out of a company that was meant to be selling gold and silver bullion online.
My next question to you is, what do you think about remote work, and what are the pros and cons of remote work?
I think remote work was useful when the situation pushed for it, like COVID. I think remote work isn't the best solution right now. Our entire team at Stoic Media, everybody's remote. We don't have a physical office. I myself, I'm a strong believer that in that physical interaction promotes creativity, relationships, and promotes also new ideas, right? Everybody being remote, no matter how many virtual VCs you have per day, Zooms, Google Meet, Teams, whatever you use. Yes, they're useful to get things done, but I don't think they're useful to build connections and to create or to think about new ideas. I think in order to maximize creativity, people need to be physically in the same room or space and interact with each other. So I don't think people should think that being remote is the best solution. It is not. I would love for everybody in our company to come together, but what it ended up happening is that now we have employees is scattered across countries, cities, and it's very difficult for us now to have everybody come into one single city where they can live and work together. It's just the nature of how we were brought up as a business. It just doesn't work like that for us.
Right. So if I ask you that, because you were brought up in a different manner, so if you decide today that, okay, now we have to move things within an office, so would you be able to transform that, or you think that it is not going to be possible?
I already tried and it didn't work.
Okay,
So because we
right.
don't see each other physically in our company, we try to at least once per month do a group activity, either go out for dinner. We've had activities like do pottery lessons, right? Or sketching classes with experts. We've tried all sorts of things, cooking classes for everybody, just some fun activity that helps everybody just get to know each other and talk about life and business and whatnot. In one of those, so twice, one in at a dinner, and one I think it was a cooking lesson activity. I myself asked everybody in the room. At the time, we were like 20, 24 people. Raise your hand if you think that it'd be cool for everybody here to get an office somewhere that is easy access for everybody, and we'll do free meals, and we'll do like foosball and ping pong table and all these things that people like to have in their offices. And I was like, okay, show of hands, who wants to do this? And not one single person said, I'd be down for that. Then after a few seconds of silence, one person, he raised a hand. I'm not going to say his name. And he said, how much money are you going to spend in like getting an office and all those things and the free food? And like, that's a lot of money. And I thought to and I told him, look, I don't think that's a conversation we should have here. I just think that it'll be beneficial for everybody to work in the same space, and it'll help everybody. And then he told me, look, whatever amount of money you're going to be spending on that, I would love for you to just I need three new monitors. I need, a more powerful CPU. I need all these licenses to better do my job. I'd love to get, all the tech bells that you can think of to get their workstation set up. And he said, I would rather you spend that money in sending equipment to my house so that I can have a really solid workstation at home. And then, so as soon as he said that, another person again, at this activity that day, she raised her hand and she also said, look, that actually I'd love for you to do the same. Currently I have this type of computer and it's a little bit old. I'd love to get that other model. And then my monitor is this way and I want it bigger and whatever, and so everybody just started saying like, hey, instead of you spending the company's money on getting a new office, why don't you just spend that in equipment and licenses and stuff that is going to help us improve the quality and speed of our work, and that way we can just stay at home in a better working environment, right? And I was kind of mind blown, and I was like, wow, okay, if this is going to work for everybody, let's just do it. And so that's what we,
Right.
everybody just draw up your wish list. What do you need? And then we'll get it done. We'll send it to your house, and then let's if that's what you want, then let's just do it. It's a democracy. And I'm not, yes, I'm the founder and I'm the CEO. I don't think I should be calling shots just because I think something's going to work. There has to be consensus, and you need to ask people what they're comfortable with and what's going to work for them, not what's going to work for you. So again, that was another learning experience. It's important to listen to your staff. It's a open things up and have an open environment where people can just express themselves and not feel that they're being judged, or they're going to be.
Right.
And
So
that's
if I ask you, how much your one question costed your company?
Sorry, one. Excuse me, I couldn't hear that.
How much you asked a question to the employees, right?
Mhm.
And how much that question costed you?
I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say, but I don't see it as a cost. I think it's an investment. You know,
that was kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun, and that's just the way
Yeah.
we've been operating right now. So back to your
Ah,
question on remote work or on-site work, I would love to have
yeah.
everybody on site, but it's not up to me to decide, even if I'm the founder of the company.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens because if you are brought up in a certain manner, it is very difficult to transform. So I agree with that. That it will be a difficult call to do that. So in the last, if I would ask you that, what are the lessons you want to give to the aspiring entrepreneurs? That how should they run their businesses? How should they scale their businesses? What advice would you give to them?
Um, I would say the most important thing is find that one client, that one customer that you could start consistently selling into. Once you have a one
Okay.
solid client that you can service, you'll be able to scale up. A lot of people launch businesses thinking that they're going to be successful just because there's a market need of a service or a product. And in theory, that sounds great. But if you don't have that one single client that will purchase that product or service, it's going to be really hard for anybody to launch a business because the finances are just not there. All right. So that's one. Second, be ready to grow thick skin. It sounds like it's all been rosy and great. It has not. 2023 for us has been really difficult. We had to let go a bunch of people because of market conditions. And so it's been very hard for me to learn how to grow that thick skin, and not be vulnerable to again things I cannot control. And it goes back to stoicism. I speak a lot about stoicism and the benefits, but when it comes to actually applying those learnings as an entrepreneur, you really have to listen. You have to focus on the things that you can control, and stop focusing on the things that you cannot control, because all you're going to do is going to be wasting your time, your energy, and you're going to lose the focus of what you're supposed to be doing. So that's what I would say.
Right. That's an important learning. And with that, I would like to wrap up, and I would like to thank you, Aviel.
No,
Thank you for
thank
joining
you, Ali.
us.
This
And
has been great conversation. I really appreciate you reaching out, and for all those people listening, it's going to be a ride, and just embrace it, and make the best out of it. And thank you for listening, and thank you for inviting me to the session.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, people, for listening to us. Please subscribe our channel, and we'll keep bringing more tech stars to your screens, right? Thank you so much.
Thank you.